In 1901, a crew of Greek sponge divers was heading home from North Africa when a violent storm blew them wildly off course. They took shelter near a rocky island called Antikythera. Waiting out the weather, they decided to dive the unfamiliar waters. 50 meters down, they stumbled onto the wreck of a Roman cargo ship. The ship was fully packed with the conventional treasures of the ancient world: pottery, glassware, and spectacular bronze and marble statues. But mixed in with the artwork was this: a calcified, heavily corroded lump of bronze. For months, it sat in a museum courtyard in Athens, mostly ignored. Then, in 1902, a museum official noticed something impossible poking through the decay: precision-cut gear teeth. A gear-driven device like this does not fit the established timeline of human history. Machines of this mechanical complexity are absent from the historical record for another 1,400 years. The existence of these gears creates a massive gap in our historical timeline.
It's physical evidence that an older, sophisticated mechanical era once existed and then vanished. Figuring out what this machine actually did was a nightmare. It was recovered in 3 main pieces, which later fractured into 82 brittle fragments. Trying to manually assemble it would destroy it. The real breakthrough came in 2005. Researchers used high-resolution X-ray computed tomography, essentially 3D medical scanning, to peer inside the crust. They found 37 meshing bronze gears and faint Greek text etched into the casing. Those scans revealed the front face of the device operated as a hand-powered model of the solar system. By turning a crank on the side, a user rotated concentric rings. The outer ring tracked the 365 days of the Egyptian calendar, while the inner ring tracked the constellations of the zodiac, mapping the exact positions of the sun and moon in the sky. It even had a tiny rotating sphere painted half black and half white, which spun to continuously display the current phase of the moon. The makers of this device translated the physics of the cosmos into interlocking teeth, putting a working simulation of the heavens inside a portable box. While the front dial showed the present, the dials on the back were designed to calculate the future. They tracked massive luno-solar patterns, like the Metonic cycle, which aligns the phases of the moon with the solar year over a 19-year period. Below that sat a spiral scale representing the Saros cycle. This specific configuration of gears allowed a user to predict the exact hour and date of solar and lunar eclipses, decades before they actually happened. But the most astonishing feature is how it handles a quirk of orbital mechanics. The moon does not move across the sky at constant speed. Its orbit is elliptical, meaning it travels faster when it is closer to Earth and slower when it is further away. Astronomers call this the lunar anomaly. To model this, the ancient engineers devised a brilliant mechanical solution. They stacked 2 gears on slightly offset centers and connected them with a small pin sliding inside a slot. As the bottom gear turns at a steady rate, the pin slides back and forth, forcing the top gear to perpetually speed up and slow down, perfectly mirroring the moon's real-world velocity. This exact celestial motion was studied in the 2nd century BC by an astronomer named Hipparchus. The fact that his theoretical math is directly translated into physical bronze strongly suggests he was involved in its design. The device also featured a smaller dial dedicated exclusively to tracking the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games, proving this machine was used to schedule society just as much as it was used to track the stars. Math on parchment is one thing, but calculating the precise ratios, cutting the metal, and assembling dozens of parts into a flawless analog computer proves Hellenistic science crossed the threshold into high-precision engineering. Today, independent researchers and engineers, like the Frame project in Greece, are building functioning replicas of the device. Following strict construction protocols, they mill gears from simple bronze alloys to match exactly what an ancient craftsman would have used. These functioning models confirm the device actually worked. When you turn the crank, the solar ray and lunar pointers glide across the dial, hitting their astronomical marks with mathematical precision. A machine with dozens of interlocking gears isn't invented overnight. It requires generations of iterative design. Historical texts hint at a deep tradition of sphere-making on the island of Rhodes and point to similar planetary models built by the legendary inventor Archimedes in the city of Syracuse. The mechanism represents the culmination of a sophisticated, multi-generational school of engineering. It was the product of a tradition that had been refining these gear systems for decades. But as Rome expanded and absorbed the Greek world, that lineage was severed. Around 65 BC, a cargo ship sank off a rocky island. The engineers died out, their workshops were destroyed, and the accumulated knowledge required to build these devices vanished from history. We often think of technological progress as an unbroken upward line, but the reality is far more vulnerable. Progress is a fragile chain, one that can be easily broken by a changing empire or a single shipwreck. This corroded lump of bronze forces us to confront a humbling truth. The ancient world was mathematically and mechanically capable of feats we are only just beginning to understand. If a computer this sophisticated could be lost in the mud and forgotten for 2,000 years, we have to ask, what other masterpieces are still out there, waiting in the dark?